baseball, ladies and gentlemen. That's Rebel. I'm Aviator, and we're here to give you coverage of the 2012 SEC baseball tournament.
Conference play is over. Conference tournaments begin this week. And it's for the Southeastern Conference. It's in Hoover, Alabama. 9:30 in the morning on Tuesday is when it all begins, and it starts with the number 4 seed Kentucky Wildcats taking on the number 9 seed Ole Miss Rebels.
Interesting matchup here. Didn't Kentucky and Ole Miss play each other earlier this
They
season?
did. Kentucky took 2 out of 3 in Lexington. Ole Miss coming off of a sweep against, coming off of a losing effort against Vanderbilt in 3 games. They get swept by the Commodores. Kentucky getting swept by Mississippi State. So both teams coming into this
with a chip on their shoulder.
Both with a chip on their shoulder and both wanting to look to get wins and advance in the SEC tournament. Game 2, which follows that game, obviously, pits Arkansas and Mississippi State together.
This time, 2 SEC West opponents face each other. I can't recall if Arkansas and Mississippi State played each other during the regular season.
They did.
But both teams had roller coaster rides this season. Both teams would win a series and then go on and lose a series, and then if they won 2, they'd lose 2. They had very rocky seasons.
Very similar ball clubs in terms of up and down results all year long. So we look at games 1 and 2. Higher seed winner goes on to game number 10. Lowest seed winner goes to game number 6, where they'll face LSU. Losers go right to the losers bracket, and that's the top half of the bracket.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom half of the bracket, same sort of craziness going on.
Crazy setup.
Game 3 starts at 4:30 in the afternoon, approximately 4:30 in the afternoon. It pits the number 3 seed Florida Gators against the lowest seed in the tournament. 10 teams in the SEC tournament this time. It's number 10 Auburn Tigers.
I like this matchup. Auburn, good baseball team. Florida, better baseball team. I look for the Gators to not jump on Auburn earlier, but I like Florida in that one. It's going to be a good game, though.
Interesting matchup here between these two. Auburn needed help to get into the SEC tournament. They got help. They did just enough to get into the SEC tournament. And
interestingly enough, though, folks, the Auburn-Florida series ended the SEC regular season as well.
So they are very familiar with each other.
Quite familiar.
Going into Tuesday. Game 4, the nightcap, Vanderbilt, number 5 seed, red hot right now. They've won their last 2 SEC series, taking 2 out of 3 in Alex Box against against LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Then they go back home to Nashville, and they take 3 from the Ole Miss Rebels. They take on the Georgia Bulldogs.
They're very hot. They've won 14 out of their last 15. That's a hell of a streak to go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a streak to go on in the SEC alone, let alone the country.
They are red hot at the right time. That's a dangerous team to follow.
Very.
Lowest seed winner between games 3 and 4 will go on to take on the South Carolina Gamecocks. Top seed winner goes on to game 12, which will be played on Thursday. So if you're Florida and Kentucky, you want to win your games because you don't have to play on Wednesday.
You also get to see South Carolina play, so you can you'll be able to see the winner of that game, so you can kind of scout your opponent a little bit as well.
Do a little scouting,
Mm-hmm.
sit in the stands, have a nice cold iced tea, maybe a little popcorn.
Enjoy Hoover before you hit the field again.
That's right. That's right. It all starts on Tuesday, ends on Sunday with a winner, and then we get to see what those NCAA brackets are going to look like.
Interestingly enough, ESPN predicted that 3 SEC teams could lock up national seeds. I do believe LSU and Florida were 2 of them, and I believe it was the South Carolina, Kentucky could lock up that third one.
Right, look out for South Carolina and Kentucky. There are a few teams in this tournament that need to do well in the tournament in order to try to get a berth into the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are some teams here that are looking to host regionals, possibly some super regionals later on down the line. And then there are teams in the middle of the pack here, teams like Arkansas, Mississippi State, and Georgia and Ole Miss, that are trying not only to solidify a spot in the NCAA, but to improve on their seeding as well.
Absolutely, and it all depends on your seeding and where you go in regionals. And some people say home field advantage doesn't really matter all that much, but a lot of people would really beg to differ.
It does matter, especially in baseball. You got that home crowd. There's nothing like a home crowd in any sport, really.
Right. There's also nothing like a home crowd in the SEC, folks. Our fans know how to do it right.
And if you're Tennessee and Alabama, your season is done. Finito. finished. Wait till next year, as Yogi Berra would say.
Unfortunately, in baseball, there is nothing like the NIT.
No such thing. If you had to pick a winner to win this SEC tournament, who would it be?
Putting my objective hat on, I'm really gonna have to look at. It's either I like the obvious two choices would be LSU and South Carolina. Both teams are very talented. Their pitching staffs are very deep and very, very well coached. You can also throw Florida in there. I'm not going to sleep on Ole Miss, Arkansas, or Vandy. Vandy's been white hot as you said, at the right time in the season. And looking through the schedule, I'm going to say it's going to be either my Tigers or the Florida Gators.
I like the way Kentucky's playing. They've had a very surprising year, going 41-15.
Started the year out 20-0.
18-12 in Southeastern Conference play. We were talking off air about how the non-conference schedule for Kentucky was very weak, and we thought that they would stumble in the SEC, but they really haven't. So they're a team to watch out for. As you said, South Carolina, LSU is the obvious choice because they have played exceptional baseball all year long. Don't sleep on Vanderbilt. That's a dangerous ball club. If I had to pick one, I like Ray Tanner's ball club in Columbia, South Carolina. I mean, this is a team that has won the last 2 national championships. They always seem to get hot right around this time of year. They can do it again. They got a very loaded ball club.
They can do it again. And it's an interesting note that with the 10 teams that made the tournament, all of these teams have played each other at some point along the line. So there's familiarity with all of these clubs, so they kind of know what everybody's going to be throwing at each other.
It's going to be an interesting tournament. We could get a surprise team to win this thing. We can get an Auburn to win this thing. It's not out of reach to see a 9 or a 10 seed win it, because if you look at the SEC results, I mean, you're looking at maybe 4 or 5 game difference between the top and bottom teams. Mm-hmm. I mean, in terms of SEC standings, so very competitive baseball we saw in the Southeastern Conference, and I don't expect anything less going into the SEC tournament.
Neither do I.
Well, that about wraps it up for this episode. I'm Rebel. He's Aviator. Join us again, possibly in a couple weeks when we preview Super Regionals.
Also, when we recap the SEC tournament, tell you if we were wrong or not.
Yeah. We'll see how well we did. For all of us at Out of Bounds, we'll be seeing you guys down the road.
For more Out of Bounds coverage, go to outofbounds504.blogspot.com.